Everybody has heard the term Holy Grail. It is literally an elite category of its own. It's at the top. And when someone obtains an Holy Grail, this is supposed to be some type of item that just seems unattainable. But when you get it, it feels like you've made it. It feels like you just secured your spot in heaven. Everything is completely made. You have no worries in the world. Now, the sneaker community, since the beginning of the sneaker community, has adapted this word in our own everyday use. It's a grail. Everybody knows what a grail is. But honestly, I don't think everybody knows what a grail is when it comes to sneakers, and I think this is a lost art. Now, I will just explain it to you if you aren't familiar, and a lot of people do have their different versions, which could also allude to the reason why there really isn't a grail in today's society. So, in my opinion, a grail when it comes to sneakers is basically the same thing as a grail in any other context. It's something where, man, once I get this shoe, I feel like I've made it. Now, a lot of people do associate grails with very expensive shoes, which is not necessarily the case. A lot of grails to a lot of people, usually there's some type of emotional connection to them. Something happened in their life, or they just need this shoe for that reason, and it'll fill almost a void in their heart. For example, my grail, well, one of my grails, I have a handful, but one of my grails is top 3. I absolutely love this shoe. And it's not the most expensive shoe in the world. It's not a collab. It's nothing hype. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even think that they went crazy when they first came out. Now, obviously, over time, they did go up in price. But the reason why this is a grail to me is, one, when I first started getting into sneakers, this was one of the first shoes that I saw, and it was just so amazing. And this girl that I had a crush on in high school, I saw her at the mall and she had them on, and I'm like, yo, wait, what are those? Because those are actually fire. But this is also when I was just coming up on the sneaker game, so I was like, dang, I can't be asking my crush what shoe she got on, and I'm supposed to be the plug. So I did my research, I ended up finding them out, and I'm like, man, one day, hopefully I get these. And over the years, they always have these retrains of the top 3, and they just never hit the same. And so that is why that's my grail. No other shoe can really fill the void of that top 3. Simple enough, right? Well, again, everybody has a different definition. So I do think that this hurts the term grail, and I think it's turning into a lost art, because some people, again, they think that it has to be expensive, because why is your Holy Grail just a general release shoe? Can't you just go to Foot Locker to get it? Well, but I have an emotional connection to it, so sometimes money isn't the root to all happiness. Same thing with this. It doesn't have to be, but a lot of people do think that it has to be expensive. Now, there are a handful of people who think that because it's expensive, it can't be a grail because you're just hype beasting it. I know a long time ago, I saw a conversation in the sneaker community, and this guy said the Off-White 1 UNC was his grail. And they were like, bro, that's just the UNC but Off-White. That can't be your grail, bro. That's just on some Hypebeast stuff. And it's like, why can't it be? Maybe you don't know what he has a connection with that shoe. Or maybe that's just a shoe that he really loves. I have certain shoes like that I really love. And it might not be somebody else's grail, but that's the whole point of a grail. It's supposed to be something for you. Now, again, there are others where they say, well, the shoe just came out. It can't be a grail. So what? I need it. I want it. You feel what I'm saying? I need it. It's my money and I need it now. So there are always these different definitions of grails, that to the point where I don't even think people really use that term anymore, because it just feels like you get punished every time you use it, bro. And I really don't like that, because I do think that grails are really important to the sneaker game, because one of the main things about the sneaker game is always a chase at the end of the day. Obviously, we've seen over the last 2 years when Jordan and Nike, they just decided to give us every single shoe and make it widely available. That was when sneakers were at its lowest point. no one really enjoyed that. Why? Because the sneaker game is built on this foundation of a chase. You gotta scour the world to find the shoe. You gotta stand in line all day. You gotta be in these forums. You gotta be in these group chats. You gotta be in all types of stuff just to secure this one single pair. And so by having a grail in mind, there's technically no end game to the sneaker game unless you get this grail. And obviously it's okay to have more than one grail, because I have multiple grails. I have some grails that I don't think I would ever get. Like the Paranorman foams. I just don't think I'm just in my lifetime getting those. But if it does come out, I will be a very happy man. I think I'll be happy. But again, there will be more shoes that I don't think I have one grail that would just end it for me. But that's the thing. Grails, you can always get them. Maybe you have one since you were 10 years old. Maybe you have one when you're 30. Maybe you just you thought of a new one last week. It's okay to have all of these grails, but because of this lost art of the grail being a lost art now, that also just ruins the sneaker game. And another thing too, I think with the younger generation, obviously with new people being born, new people getting into sneakers, etc., if they don't really know about grails, then it's, again, a part of that sneaker game. A lot of the significance of it is just completely lost to them, especially now when we're in just such a fast-paced type of lifestyle. People's attention spans are fried. Jordan brand, Nike, all of the brands, right? It's too many shoes at this point. They're just releasing too many shoes. So if you add that on top of the low attention span and them not knowing about grails, I think the bloodline is cut off. You know what I mean? I don't think the next generation will ever really know about grails, because in their life, everything is just moving fast and fast and fast. And they're also trying to keep up with these trends, right? They're more so wearing shoes because it's trendy on TikTok, or maybe that collab or that brand is the latest thing going. So if they don't know about grails, they're just in this constant cycle of, oh, well, I saw this on the internet, or my favorite influencer is wearing this, I'm gonna go ahead and wear it. And they don't have this genuine interest in sneakers. And a lot of people might say, well, man, they're just doing it for the wrong reasons. Well, again, you can be inspired. Obviously, I don't think that's the right way to go about it, because obviously I was raised differently, but I'm not gonna tell another generation how to live their life. But as the sneaker community, for the people who did grow up on the idea of grails, we have to implement that so it doesn't get lost. Because now, I think that's why a lot of, especially the older heads, they have a problem with the newer generation saying they don't appreciate certain shoes, they don't appreciate the game in general, they don't have real taste, etc. And well, it's because you guys are kind of the issue. We're all the issue. We've crushed that term to the ground to where it has no value anymore, because everybody has their own definition and trying to put their own rules and regulations on the grails. Why can't my grail be a top 3? Why does it have to be something expensive and unattainable? Grails can have just emotional connection. And I'm trying to think, what is something that we can do in the sneaker community to try and bring this back? Obviously, one, we could let people enjoy what their grails are. I feel like we shouldn't have, obviously we can have some funny banter here and there depending on what the grail is. And even if we were to have rules and regulations of what can be considered someone's grail or not, I feel like if we are gonna go that route and it's just that serious in the community, I feel like at least the rules could be consistent. And I wouldn't mind that route either, because now it's like we have this system that we have going on, and it's like, oh man, like, this is an actual grail. And I feel like that would start more conversations. Oh, well, maybe it has to be this requirement. So then when you do ask somebody for their grail, it's like, oh, that makes more sense. And then I feel like you would get to know the person a little bit better if you were to have a conversation with somebody on a grail. Another thing, potentially, actually, I'm gonna save this one. I don't know about that. I'm iffy on, should we slow down releases? I do feel like there are certain times where we just get too many releases. So it comes to a point where it's a lot of shoes that just get overshadowed. So then we go a long span of time without having a grail. And I do think that it is healthy and necessary to get new grails over the time. And I also think that's another thing that people are weird about when it comes to grails. You just have to have your grails set in stone, and then as you go on, you can't really get new grails, and that goes more so the recency bias when it comes to grails. But it's like, because they just turn on needs. There's a lot of shoes that I really want and I really need, but I wouldn't that have came out in recent times. I don't think they're considered grails, but I do have some grails that have came out in recent times, and I think that's good. So I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comment section. Should releases slow down, or do you think that's a factor when it comes to the grails? And then my last thing, I think we need to go back into the storytelling, the marketing, things like that. Jordan has been doing a phenomenal job. I loved what they did with the 85 brands. I love what they did with the Nigel 4s. So those are two really good examples to where you can really understand if someone said, man, the Nigel 4s, that's a grail of mine. I can easily see that without any real question. Like, even though it is a hype shoe, that some people might complain about that, it's just like, but man, that everything, the release, everything about it was just so perfect. So I can understand that. But I do think that having the art of quote unquote a grail in the sneaker community, it is becoming a lost art. And I do think that as the people in the community, we do need to find our way back into normalizing grails again. I think we need to allow people to just accept other people's grails and make it more of an inviting thing, so that as time goes on, we get new generation of people in, and as sneakers continue to release, they can be a part of that and continue to have a fresh sneaker game. So let me know your opinions on it in the comment section below. And with that being said, Fo out. Peace.